Our next event, Future Note, where subject matter expert highlights the technologies relevant to meet the challenges. I now invite Mr. Shankar Ramurthy to introduce our Future Note speaker. Over to you.
Dr. Rakesh Kumar, Director NEERI. NEERI is National Environment Engineering Research Institute. In the earlier discussions, we heard about what the environmentalists who have been passionate about impacting on the rural side, on the urban side, and in the corporate side. There's a lot of work goes behind because eventually technologies have to be invented and commercialized. That is where the organizations like NEERI come in, where we always are more creative in what next in the technology and how the new technologies are improved, and particularly with respect to the Indian horizon. Dr. Rakesh Kumar has yeoman work at NEERI as heading the organization in developing several technologies, and he has got a PhD in environment, and he has spearheaded to bridge a gap between the laboratory studies scaling up, leading to the science being used in the industry. He has himself is a recipient of several awards, Commonwealth Common Award, himself an Environment Leadership Award by the US Asia Environment Partnership. He has been a champion of technology transfer of low-cost wastewater treatment technologies to commercialization. So I invite Dr. Rakesh Kumar to this forum. Uh, Welcome, Dr. Rakesh Kumar.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, Dr. Ramurthy. And I see a lot of heavyweights and well-known people in this list. And I was glad to see Professor Dhar and Professor Pava. And the name just goes on. So thank you very much. And actually, सब लोगों को आप लोगों को बहुत सारा प्रणाम हमारी तरफ से. IIT BHU का ये जो organization है इसमें, although I'm not directly connected with IIT BHU, but IIT community and my link with IIT Bombay, where I passed out from, and I have a lot of friends, professors who work with us. So it's a really pleasant thing to do today to be part of this exercise. And I'll try to share a small presentation which was asked of me, and I hope that will make sense to all of you, which is on wastewater and what do we do in this country. So just give me a minute. I'll try to bring my presentation.
Yes, doctor. Go ahead. We are able to see your screen.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, we are able to see your screen. Please go ahead.
So when we talk about wastewater treatment, this is something which started for NEERI as well. If many of you who do not know, NEERI was earlier known as Central Public Health Engineering Research Institute, way back in 1958, when water and sanitation was one of the major issues. Of course, the way our population went on increasing, we added a lot of other stuff, and NEERI now is Environmental Engineering Research Institute. So issue before us, when we talk about any wastewater, those of you who work in this domain would know, but any wastewater which we generate from the domestic sources actually is nothing but 98 or 98.5% water. Rest is 1.5%, some kind of contaminants which we need to take off. And if we do that, I tell you some of our water related issues that we have in our country can possibly be solved. And in my own opinion, many times we hear this statement that we should do more of rainwater harvesting. Of course, we should do rainwater harvesting, but I would say let's do Nala wastewater harvesting, because our drains in the country are more perennial than many of our rivers. And all of these drains continuously flow 365 days, 24/7. And if you count that number for just class 1, class 2 city, it is more than 70,000 million liters per day. So when you're looking at all of these things together, we have to look at our sewerage system all over again compared to what we were thinking in the olden days. I don't need to go into this detail. This got discussed by Mishra ji and some of our colleagues earlier. It was very interesting discussion which happened. Dr. Rajendra Singh also, who's who was there, and we worked very closely with him to do water literacy related issues. And I'm glad that all of these people were there today to discuss. So when we look at wastewater types, I'll go into a little bit of nitty-gritty. There are definitions now, and unless until we define our problems, we will not be able to solve it. So when we look at our wastewater types, you'll find that there is something called fresh water, which we say ground and surface. Gray water is what we call, which comes from bathing, clothing, cloth washing, and in some cases even kitchen, which is not being used for cooking. And the black water is what we use for toilet and urinals. So depending upon from where this water is coming, there is a possibility of reusing it in an effective manner. And therefore the technology will change, or technology can become relevant depending upon where we want to do what kind of intervention. So if I can just do this, the basic exercise of new sanitation concept will be that how do I segregate wastewater from the place where we use? Not when we have mixed everything and then we try to do it, which is a conventional means of doing it. We take it to our sewer lines, and then it gets pumped multiple times, and then it goes to a sewage treatment plant. Most of the current projects and activity which is happening in our country are actually of that kind, where we in cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, sewage actually flows for more than 30 to 40 kilometers, and then it goes to a sewage treatment plant, and by the time it reaches, it's very septic and also not easily amenable for treatment. And the challenge continues over a period of time. So what is important is that any new houses that we build, or the current houses that we have, we design it for collection and segregation. The moment I do it, the chances are that I can actually do a good job of treatment and reuse. So just to give you a glimpse of it, when you look at overall average domestic water consumption in Indian cities, it's about 135 liters. There are some lucky people who get 200 to 50 liters. But of these, if you see this box here, it is almost like 85 to 90 liters actually comes here. And that's a major domain and major part of water which can actually be used for recycling purposes. So depending upon what we have, we could start doing something about black water as well. Gray water, as I said earlier, can be much more easily treated. There are concepts of doing black water treatment as well, which is important and that we need to do. And as we move forward, we need to look at how our standards are actually laid out in our country. So if I say I want to use wastewater, which is coming from so and so sources, the standard applicable becomes what we want to do. So if I want to do it for irrigation, there is a different criteria. It's for commercial purposes, for construction purposes, toilet and urinal flushing, fire protection, and drinking water. The drinking water is very interesting because many people do talk about an example of Singapore, which gives you a bottled water is called NEWater. And many of you who would know that in that drinking water, 15% of water is sourced from sewage after treatment. So it primarily it means that there is 85% which is clean virgin water, and 15% comes from treatment of sewage and then is mixed. But to tell you very frankly, the people who live, and no offense here, those who live in Mathura and Agra are actually doing the reverse of it. So 85% of the water which comes for drinking purposes in their household is actually coming from sewage treatment plants or sewage which is flowing in the river. And the reason is, which you will see, many of us who have seen it, that the treatment scheme shows first part as sewage treatment, and after that it goes into water treatment plant. So it's important. In India, we have been doing a great job of treating and supplying, but can we do it for each of these sources and do it smartly so that all of these are met? Unfortunately, we do not have standard for all of these. So we need to work towards the standard, and our institute and some of other colleagues in research institutions are now working with pollution control boards that you must notify depending upon use what kind of standard that is required. Many countries are already doing it for grey water, and there are norms for it. We are still saying, based on some parameter that we should be doing following, but it's not well defined. Industry, we all know it. This is done in a very smart way for industry because they understand the value of water, because they pay almost 30 times more when they source water from urban local bodies or sometimes some other sources. So they have to become more and more bigger leaders in terms of saying how to use wastewater as we go ahead. The thing that I wanted to talk to all of you today was something different besides what we need to do in wastewater domain as a philosophical issue. NEERI did some very interesting work in the last 5-7 years in which we looked at how nature can be used for doing treatment of wastewater. So the first one is Hydrate, which I'll talk about in 2 minutes. Then we also looked at our issues of treating drained water. As we know, most of our cities, I'm talking about even in bigger cities and metro cities, we still do not collect 100% of wastewater. So if you take city of Mumbai, it collects only about 55% of wastewater which it generates. Rest of it goes into drains. Delhi collects probably much higher percent, but some of the numbers are not very well known, but it still is about 50%. If you go to Bangalore, it again picks up about 40%. So when we talk about 40 to 60%, and in some cities it could be even 70%, wastewater flowing into our drains, till government has that kind of money that it will be able to pick it up, bring it through a sewer system to a centralized sewage treatment plant and treat it. Can we do in situ treatment in the drain itself, right? And the third one, which is something to do with lake cleanup, which I'll talk about, and can we do river rejuvenation using Hydrate technology? So what it actually does, many of you who know wastewater treatment is easy to understand, but those who don't, is also still very easy. So what it actually does, phyto actually means plants, and rid meaning getting rid of pollutants. So we use a conventional method of filter media and plants together. And if you see the schematic at the bottom, what it actually does is that we get wastewater, which comes in any sedimentation tank, and almost an improved version of septic tank is built so that all solids are taken care of in the first part. And after that, it goes through a gravel media, which has no soil, no sand, nothing. And on the top, we grow certain kind of plants. These are called wetland plants, which take effectively all the organic matter and some nutrients to grow themselves and then consume it. So while it passes through, it gives you a water which is as good as any conventional sewage treatment plant. So just to give you a little bit of more glimpse that in the different layers of these gravel beds, different kind of biochemical oxidation processes take place in the first set of domain, and the later part of the same tank, it also takes nitrogen and phosphorus. By the way, the nutrient which is we call it nutrient, which sounds good that we should have higher nutrient in anything, but in wastewater, finally when it gets treated, we should not have too many nutrients, because if we have, our lakes will have this algal bloom and it will create problem. So when we look at this constructed wetland processes, almost everything happens which happens in a conventional sewage treatment plant. What is important here is that how do we engineer it? It's a biological process. It's a process which botany people understand better, but it also requires a lot of engineering to be done. And using these engineering, we have been able to get a process by which we can actually remove all of them. So right now it's being, it can be applied to municipal and domestic wastewater, commercial, as I said, for grey water, agriculture runoffs, stormwater runoffs. Most of the work on constructed wetlands were actually done way back, I would say a couple of decades back, for agriculture runoffs and stormwater runoff. We have been able to do it for municipal and domestic wastewater, almost at the same footprint as any sewage treatment plant would have, which is not possible in any other places. So this is just a summary of the whole thing. So we have screen chamber, we have sedimentation, we have a hydrate bed, and then we have storage for its use as we go ahead. There's another one which we have been now doing it. So some places where if you I don't need to go into details, but what is important is that oil and grease sometimes can create a lot of problems. In olden time, we used to have every household or every society a separate oil and grease chamber. And if you remove that, almost 20–30% of our sewer systems, which get choked and always keep suffering and overflow keeps happening, can actually be addressed. So this is a very small system, which can possibly, it was there earlier, but now there is smarter design which needs to be done and which will solve our all sewer line problem issues. These are some sectional thing. We have settling and Rubik buffers, and then it goes ahead. So I'll not go into detail. I have already explained that to you. But what is important here is that when we look at operation maintenance, this is one of the simplest of maintenance. So any gardener who maintains a garden can possibly run this whole system. And that's where the importance of nature-based technology comes in and solves the real life problem. These are some comparison of standards. These standards have recently again changed because of NGT interventions. But depending upon which standard that we are looking at and which parameters for reuse that we want to plan, we can redefine some of these standards and go ahead. I would like to now give you an example of how do we use a combination of phytorad and in situ treatment. So if I have a nala which is flowing like this, as you see here, I can create a barrier and then make them flow through a gravel bed planted system. And as it flows, it gets actually treated, and then it goes back into the drain again. So over a distance of 500 meters, 1 kilometer, the drains will start getting cleaned itself. And in this, we also put in some places floating systems. Those floating plants actually have designed in a way that it doesn't sink as it grows. And also it has roots which is hanging below, and all the biological processes are taking place while the water flows below it. The same concept with a little bit of, I would say, variation is now being used in 3 or 4 lakes, 4 lakes now, few lakes in Thane, lakes in Telibandha in Raipur. There is another lake in Nagpur that we have done, and the 4th one is under implementation. What we do is lakes normally have a process by which nutrients get accumulated. And you must have seen many lakes have this green and blue color algae which starts growing. And it's nothing but higher levels of nitrogen and phosphorus. So we do a floating plant bed system which has got an aeration below, and it effectively takes phosphorus, which is the limiting parameters which leads to all this algal growth. And over a period of time, the lakes can remain clean. This is a proposal which we have been talking about for smaller rivers. It cannot be done for rivers like Ganga, but if we can have some of the places where we have smaller rivers and mainly it is carrying sewage, we could divert it, create sedimentation, create primary units, and then create subsurface wetlands where it gets treated over a period of time. So retention time is anywhere between 24 hours to 48 hours. And once it gets treated, it gets into the system all over again. So some of the examples where it has been used, this is Mahindra plant. This is in Pune, Bharat Forge, and this is another location. I'm not able to figure that out. I'll just tell you that. So this is the kind of thing which has been done in Bedmutha Industries. So by the way, all of these wastewater treatment has been done on the domestic portion of it, and that's not industrial wastewater, but the one which is coming out of the canteen and coming out of the toilets and urinals. Similarly, the one which has been done recently to rejuvenate Sahadra Jheel, 3 million liters plant has been now built for East Delhi Municipal Corporation. Is operating now for 2 years. And because Sahadra Jheel, which used to have a lot of water, now it doesn't have, we are giving the sewage treated wastewater for reviving the lake, which has become dry in last 10 years. This is an example of Mahindra vehicles at Chakan, which treats almost all its wastewater, which is about 750 cubic meter per day. So in short, at the end, I just wanted to highlight that we need to start looking at any treatment methods, but yes, method which is cheaper easier to maintain, and it has a good payback period. Second very important thing is that we must treat where we generate. If we make it flow, or if we make it travel a few hundred kilometers and then I treat it, to bring it back for my use is going to be a humongous task. So we must start looking at decentralized systems, and people should start adopting it and owning it. Only when we own, things will happen. We could relook at nature-based technology. India is actually blessed with the right temperature, where all the nature-based technology in the Europe and US actually failed during winter times because of very, very low temperature. In our country, most part of India is warm enough to have nature-based technology, and the innovation that has been done by people like us can actually work wonders without any electricity, any mechanical system. It can also provide employment to local people because it can be built easily, and those who are trained, even for 2 days, they can actually maintain the whole sewage treatment plant. The current mechanical and very complicated sewage treatment plants, you don't find people who are actually well trained and want to do it. All those who are BTech and MTech would not want to go and run STP. So we need to depend on people who can actually do this. And finally, when I say that for wastewater or water, we cannot segregate them. This is actually nothing but water. And in that, technical community has to work with society to actually address this problem. Unless until we communicate that part of it, there are chances that we will not succeed. So I stop here. I can actually take questions if there are many.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dr. Rakesh. That was an excellent presentation, particularly knowing that the phytoride type of treatment, which is more ecology friendly and non-consuming of chemicals and electricity, is something very heartening. And I wish that in the future we see more of that spreading across India, especially where there is a possibility of reducing the pollution by way of natural processes that you have developed. So I want to ask one question with a premier institute where you are developing the technologies and experiments, and then you are piloting it and then scheduling it commercially. Our institute, IIT BHU, being a premier institute, how do you think there can be a collaboration with NIRI and BHU at an institute level, where the ideas and the academics can also be transferred directly onto your laboratories and the scientists, so that there's a collaboration at the academic level as well as at your institute level?
So we are actually very open. I can't say possibly that it was always there, but in last 3-4 years, we have had MOUs with more than 100 institutions, and most of them are academic institutions. So wherever we want to do piloting, and I would like to actually share this thought with all the startups and the younger ones who are here. In India, people just do not respect knowledge. And pardon me for saying this. Knowledge is not given value. Only when with the knowledge you have produced something, a product which you can demonstrate and showcase, then only people believe you. So the normal knowledge processes in India takes time. If I can modify my sentence a little bit better. So wherever we have seen the technology which was actually not given any importance, only when we demonstrated at one place, 2 places, 5 places, we also had a lot of learning. And all of these learning involved students and some of the startups who actually work with us. So our new drain technology is piloted by an IIT Bombay alumnus who is a startup company, just 5-6 years old, and they are doing it across India. So I would say that we are most welcome, and we would be very happy and glad to partner with IIT BHU. Sure.
One big question, Dr. Rakesh. What's up in the board? Basically, what's the future, particularly in the wake of the COVID pandemic? How the research and development in the new technologies are getting oriented to make in the light of the present pandemic? How are there any directions? Is any possibility of COVID virus showing up in the wastewater, or what's your thoughts on that direction?
So there is a massive exercise that's going on right now. We are sampling and mapping 12 cities with regard to sewage, containing viruses. So that's being done with CCMB, NEERI, IMTech, Chandigarh. So this three institutions of CSR are working together. There are instances where we can assess that how many people may be infected based on the signature that you find in the sewage. But one should not be scared. The RNA, that's what coronavirus COVID-19 is. It does not survive in a way that it can infect anyone in the sewage. As of now, it appears that way. So, but it is important that if we do a surveillance very well, without probably doing massive checking and the testing that we are doing now, we can probably predict which area of the city is having more prevalence using the sewage samples. That's possible.
Okay. That's great, Dr. Rakesh. It's been a very informative and revealing session that we had with regards to the new technologies and what has already been developed and implemented. And very heartening to know that you're already working on several institutes in encouraging the academics also to share their thoughts with your R&D efforts to bring in more and more new technologies. Unless there are any other question, I would like to thank Dr. Rakesh for his valuable insights.
Shankar, could
Yes,
I say something?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay. I just wanted to compliment Rakesh because I've been knowing them very well. This is one of the most serious practical laboratories of CSIR system, which is more applicable to the urban pollution and rural pollution. For the new startups, you are this Mr. Rajendra Singh's lecture and this lecture combined together, I think opens a lot of gates for our freshers. That's very essential. Provided, as Rakesh himself said, they may not get attracted. MTechs and the BTechs don't get attracted to this kind of thing. But I must compliment Rakesh for the practical part of it, the research they have been doing ever since they started. And that's why organization like Supreme Court is on their head every time. Ask if they needed to give the verdict on an issue. Thank you very much. Thank you.
They have even developed green firecrackers for Diwali. Do you know that?
Yes. Thank you, Professor Dhar. Professor Dhar has been, some of the people like you who have been, guiding us and, encouraging. That is what makes us survive. There has been pressure, and I would again say to some of the younger ones that the pressure today in our country has been very different. One pressure is that you must show up in terms of how much publication you have done, which is great. One should do it. Yeah. And the other pressure is how much money you make very quickly. So these two things can, sometimes put you down. But when we solve real life problem, that gives us much more, pleasure than probably publication. Publication, we must do it as academicians and researchers. Yeah. But it should be a byproduct rather than the main product.
Seeing is believing. Seeing is believing.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you, Dr. Ram.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Rakesh. It's very inspiring to know that, yes, there are a lot of things on the environment. There's a huge door opening with regards to how the environment can be made more safer, particularly in the light of the present situation of the pandemics and whatever likely to come in the future. So we are all well guarded and feel very safe that, yes, there are institutes like yours who are able to, help us with new technologies, which is getting implemented and which will help us bring our lives safer. Thank you very much for your time, Dr. Rakesh, and sparing on a Sunday. And I now leave the mic back to Kirti to take on further. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shankar. This has been a great informative session.